Three reasons why I go to church. Number one, worship is entertaining. Number two, well, I just like the hot coffee, to be quite honest. And number three, most importantly, football always comes after church. It has nothing to do with church. Of course, they're not the reasons that I go to church, but we have to understand why we go to church if we're going to understand how to lead in the church. And that is what we're going to discuss today, how to lead in the local church. Welcome to the Vince Miller Show. I, of course, am Vince Miller. So excited to be with you today. Today's topic is leading in the church. And, you know, I know that leading in the church can be very challenging. For a lot of us, we want to lead in the church, but don't know how to take the steps to do that. And today I'm going to address this at a high level, and I hope that it's helpful for you. But I want to differentiate what I mean by leading in the church, because I think there's formal leadership in the church, and then there's informal leadership in a church. And when I talk about formal leadership, I'm talking about things like roles of an elder, an overseer, and a pastor. And some of us aspire to be an elder, overseer, and a pastor. But most of us, however, are looking for informal ways to grow in our leadership. And my hope is that this video and episode are going to be tremendously helpful for you. So a couple of preliminary matters about leading in the church. Number one, I want you to know that many people take biblical principles from the Bible and apply these leadership principles into a business or a life context. And I want you to know there's nothing wrong with that. But there are certain principles that have to do with leadership that are applied specifically to leading in a formal, not informal, formal role in a church. And there are 6 scriptures that you can read on this. I'm going to list them off today. We'll put them nice and neatly over here, right? Video guys, right over here somewhere, where you can look at these. You can look them up on your own and read them on your own, because most of you can read and you can look up scripture. So here they are. The first one is 1 Timothy 3, 1 through 7. The second one is Titus 1, 5 through 9. And both of these are qualifications for elders. Then third, 1 Peter 5, 1 through 3, which talks about shepherding the flock. Number 4, Hebrews 13, 17, a single verse here on obeying your leaders, which is important for you to obey your church leaders. Acts 20, 28 on overseeing a flock. And Ephesians chapter 4, verses 11 through 12 on roles or roles people play in the church, like apostle, evangelist, shepherd, teacher, etc. Okay. Now, I mentioned these for a certain reason. I want you to know that all the principles I'm pulling out for you today are coming from these texts. I'm not going to read these texts, but what I did was smash all these texts together and stir out a few principles that I believe will help you. But here's the problem that most people have when they read all these texts. They feel like they're not qualified to lead. I have worked with men for too long to know that when they read these texts, they feel disqualified from leading in a church. And I know that feeling because I felt that same way. But I want you to know this. I want you to join me today in exploring leadership in an informal way in your church by aspiring to live an elder qualified life. Are you hearing me? I want you to aspire to challenge yourself to live an elder qualified life, because there's nothing wrong with shooting for the stars, even when you disqualify yourself. And I want to encourage you to stop disqualifying yourself from the leadership that God has called you to, because there's a path there. So 5 aspirations today for living an elder qualified life in the church so that you can lead in the church. Aspiration number 1 is this: moral character and integrity. All kinds of verses here. I'm not going to list them, but I might say them anyway. So 1 Timothy chapter 3, verses 1 through 7 references this. Titus chapter 1, verses 5 through 9, and 1 Peter chapter 5, verses 1 through 3. Go back and read these texts again, and you're going to read all about moral character and integrity that goes with that character. Leaders have to find a way, especially spiritual leaders, find a way to smash together their integrity and their character in all kinds of environments. And this is what Timothy, in the book of Timothy, Paul talks to Timothy about when he says above reproach, that we should work in our character in the variety of environments that we lead in, whether that be in the church or in the world or in our home, that we're consistent. And we are not, here's the principle, we are not perfect, but we're progressing. We're not perfect, but we're making progress. Because guess what? No one is perfect. You disqualify yourself all the time from church leadership and leading in the church in an informal way because you feel like you're not perfect. Guess what? God knows everyone isn't perfect, but we're constantly making progress. I call this being hungry in character because we are fat, faithful, available, and teachable. You see what I did there? Okay. You're hungry because you're fat, faithful, available, and teachable. And you're hungry in character, so you're hungry to grow. Now, it doesn't mean you're perfect because you're going to make mistakes along the way, but you're going to adjust your moral integrity and moral character, not to the moment, but to God along the way. So you're making progress. So actionable for you today to consider when it comes to this principle or aspiration here. I want you to go to someone today and ask them for feedback on your character and integrity. Who are you going to go to? And you're immediately thinking, not your wife, but I think you should go to her. And you should say, I want honest feedback. How is my character? And then let her eviscerate you and take it. Learn to take it a little bit, to build your threshold to your resistance to change. Because if you can build up your threshold to resistance to change, guess what you're doing? You're perfect. No, you're not perfect. You're progressing, but not perfect. Do you see it there? Okay. The second aspiration for living an elder qualified life is this: purity and commitment in relationships. Purity and commitment in relationships. If you read 1 Timothy 3, 4 through 5, and then Titus chapter 1, verse 6, you're going to see here the importance of purity in relationships and commitment to them for a long period of time. Now, Paul was very concerned about this as they equipped and trained elders in the church. And you need to care about this too. Here's a couple of things that Paul says. He says that he wants Timothy, in 1 Timothy, to look for elders who are a one-woman man. Someone who is wholly committed to a person and can be committed to that person. In other words, they aspire to be pure with that one woman and be committed in that relationship. They have staying power. They're willing to work through hard things. And it's always mentioned as a qualification or an aspiration inside of a family. You know why? Because leading in your family is the hardest possible place you could ever lead. And by the way, if you can't lead your family, you can't lead a bigger family called the church. So you got to figure out how to lead in your family and have purity and commitment to your family before you're ever going to be able to lead in the church. Now, I know some of you are thinking about the disqualifications of this. I've been married multiple times, blah, 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 blah. I'm talking about informal leadership right now. Are you ready to aspire and not be perfect, but make progress? And to take the leap of starting to lead your family well and making a commitment to lead in the church well? Here's an actionable for you in this area. I want you to read one Christian living book this year on marriage or parenting, or on purity. How about that? Read one of those books. Learn to live a pure and committed and holy life, and you'll be making progress while you're imperfect. So shameless plug right here. Go to my website, pick up a copy of 20 Lessons That Build a Family, and you will be blessed by it. I promise. Shameless plug. And we got lots of other books on the website too, and references to other ones that you could buy as well. With that, third aspiration of living an elder qualified life is this: teaching and doctrinal soundness. You have to be able to teach, and you have to be doctrinally sound. Scriptures, 1 Timothy 3:2, Titus 1:9, and Ephesians 4, verses 11 and 12. Go read them. Please read them. But here's the deal. To lead, you have to be able to teach. You have to be able to teach. Now, teaching like I'm teaching right now, maybe you're not equipped to be able to do that. Maybe you don't know how to do it or have never developed skill. Or teaching from a stage, maybe you're scared to death of doing that. But guess what? Everyone teaches. If you're a plumber, you have to teach how to fix pipes. If you're an electrician, you have to teach how to pull wire. If you're a doctor, you have to teach and understand how to teach how to fix things in the human body, how to drug people up, how to charge people a ton of money for things that they don't need. Right? All these things are things that you have to learn how to teach. And you know, I know some people are not stage teachers, but you can be a great one-on-one teacher. You can. Some of the greatest teachers of my life were not men who are actually occupational teachers. They were leaders of organizations. They were experts in a field. They were specialists. Shoot, these guys I'm sitting with today that are videotaping me right now, they have taught me things. Even right before we started this lesson, you have to be able to teach. Here's an actionable for you. You got a question?
Vince, it's not 1990. We don't videotape anymore.
Videotape?
This is all digital.
This is digital? There's no tape in this thing? But anyway, actionable. Here's something that you could do actionably to learn how to teach. Lead a small group. Just lead a small group. Start with just a few other people in that group and learn how to lead them. That is one of the greatest teaching environments you could ever have. Just learning from a variety of different personalities and learning how to pass on wisdom to them. The fourth aspiration of living an elder qualified life is this: servant leadership and shepherding. You have to learn how to serve and how to shepherd. This is a big combo right here because serving and shepherding are a twofold punch. One operates as a supervisor, that's a shepherd, and then a servant operates, I don't know what he does. What does he do? I got lost since I screwed up the videotape. You know, servants or elders, man, you got to be able to serve and shepherd at the same time. This is the ultimate combo role. One supervises, one serves. And you got to be able to manage and guide people and different personalities. If you're going to live an elder qualified life, you have to understand these roles. A supervisor is someone who manages and guides different people, and then a servant is someone who wants what is best for the people that he's leading and serving. And spiritual leaders know how to do this. They know how to combine these different roles and the push and the tug of them. That sometimes you got to manage your family or the group of people that you're leading, and sometimes you just need to serve them. And you wear these different hats, and you can go back and forth between these two roles. Actionable here, that would be really good for you. Give directions to someone this week, and then jump in with them. Give someone in your house, like your wife, your kids, direction, and then help them with a task. Or give directions at work, and then jump in with the task. Or give direction at church and be willing to serve in that role. The fifth aspiration of an elder qualified life is spiritual maturity and accountability. Spiritual maturity and accountability. A few texts here, 1 Timothy 3:6 and then Hebrews 13:17. Because get this, leaders have reached a point of emotional and spiritual maturity that they understand how to lead themselves away from harm and towards safety, and they know their own manifestation of sin so they can lead themselves and others away from harm. You have to be able to do this with cunning excellence, but spiritual maturity is one of those things that we often misunderstand. We think it's about how much knowledge that we've gained or how long we've been a believer, but spiritual maturity has nothing to do with that. Has everything to do with your receptivity to what God wants from you in a given moment that aligns with His good will. And spiritual maturity, along with some self-accountability or accountability built into it, makes for a very spiritually receptive person. And you want to be spiritually receptive. And then we also have to help other people understand how to become receptive themselves to God. So here's an actionable for you. Ask yourself, do you know your manifestation of pride? And how do you hold yourself accountable from stepping into the sin that comes from that pride. Do you do that? Do you know that? Do you know your pride that leads to sin? And do you have metrics or measures to prevent you from stepping in to the fall of that version of pride in you? A good reflective moment right now. What is that for you? I don't know what it is for you, but you need to deal with it, all right? Let's deal with it. Okay, so today, here's what I've done. I've given you 5 aspirations of an elder qualified life. And man, I want you to live this life out. Exhibit high moral character and integrity. Number 2, lead your family and relationships well. Number 3, be sound in your teaching and doctrine. Number 4, servant leadership, right? Servant leadership with shepherding. And number 5, demonstrate and show some spiritual maturity in your life. And I hope this blesses you. Here's a great way to begin, though. I've given you 5 things today, and I know it can be overwhelming. All right? Pick one and work on one. Just pick one and learn how to lead with that one. It could be one you're crushing it at and one that's crushing you. I don't know, but pick one and work on it. And then choose to begin to utilize this within the context of a church, just in a small way. It could be in a serving role. It could be in a teaching role. It could be in a small group. It could be counseling people, whatever it is. Just try something. Step into it. Stop disqualifying yourself and start aspiring to lead. Because guess what? Our churches need leaders today. Your church needs a leader. And it may not be you in a formal role, but it may be you in an informal role. And I can tell you this right now, pastors want people just like you serving and aspiring to lead in the church. Let me pray for you. God, I just want to pray for our churches today. I want to pray that those listening today would feel the call of living an elder qualified life, that you would guide them into success where they need it, that they would aspire to it to the point that you would provide them opportunities. In Jesus' name, amen. I love you guys. I pray this has blessed you. If it has, share it with someone else. And with that, live all in for him who lived all in for you. Hey guys, if you loved today's content, man, we would love to be supported by you. If you want to give on our website, you can hit that give button now. It's a great way to support the work that we are doing here, because this ain't free. These guys charge me a whole lot of money to make these videos.